Picture this. You're just living your everyday life in the bustling 21st century, and then suddenly, you become responsible for a girl who just traveled through time from 12 years in the past. That's right. This story follows Su Cheng, our completely unsuspecting protagonist, who finds himself in a truly bizarre situation. He's suddenly caring for a girl from the Tang dynasty, who literally appears out of nowhere, drenched and utterly clueless about modern life. His biggest challenge? Teaching her how to survive in today's world. Like why wandering around at midnight like a ninja, or why, say, unsheathing her sword over a minor inconvenience, is a times huge times no-no. But trust me, the journey to transform this ancient Tang dynasty woman into a modern, 21st century individual is going to be absolutely wild. The story kicks off on a rainy evening, in a bustling metropolitan city. The streets are alive with bustling crowds, blaring car horns, and a torrential downpour. Amidst all this urban chaos, Su Cheng really stands out, as the only guy running around without an umbrella. His drenched hair clings to his face, as he rushes to his dorm building for shelter. Soaked to the bone, Su begins climbing the stairs to his apartment, but halfway up, he hears strange murmurs, echoing through the dim stairwell. Weird, who's out here in this rain, he wonders. And then, boom. His heart skips a beat. Standing just a few steps above him is a young woman, staring straight at him with an intense gaze. Her presence feels eerie, almost otherworldly. In his startled state, Su Cheng fumbles and drops his room key. The woman steps back slightly, clearly wary of him. At first glance, he dismisses her as a cosplayer. After all, her attire looks straight out of a period drama, but something about her outfit feels times authentic. The intricate embroidery, the heavy fabric, even the old-world aura. It all seems oddly real. Shaking off that peculiar feeling, Su Cheng simply brushes past her and resumes climbing the stairs. Just as he's about to enter his room, the woman calls out, her voice laced with a hint of desperation. She asks him to hold up, so he turns back. Su Cheng casually explains, this is where he lives, but her response is quite peculiar. She looks utterly spooked, like she's seeing a ghost, taking a step back to maintain her cautious distance. Su Cheng scratches the back of his head, awkwardly wondering, do I look that rough? Does she think I'm some kind of creep? Embarrassed, he retreats into his apartment. Inside, Su Cheng sighs and kicks off his soaked slippers. He changes out of his drenched shirt and heads straight for a steamy shower, a hot bath, and a can of cola. Later, he finally starts to unwind. As he calls out to his cat, Melon, the little furball comes prancing in, her eyes sparkling with anticipation. Su Cheng smiles as she digs into her meal, her fluffy tail wagging happily. Meanwhile, he takes a big gulp of his fizzy drink, savoring the moment. But his relaxation doesn't last long. Curiosity gets the better of him, and he sneaks a glance through his door's peephole. To his surprise, the mysterious girl is no longer there. Maybe she finally left, he mutters to himself. Opening the door cautiously, Su Cheng steps out to confirm her absence, but as soon as he swings the door wide open, there she is, standing right in front of him, drenched and silent. Feeling a bit awkward, Su Cheng offers her an umbrella, hoping she'll take it and head home, but she doesn't respond. Instead, she asks a simple, yet baffling question. Where am I? Su Cheng raises an eyebrow. Beiwang Road. My neighborhood, he answers hesitantly, but the girl's puzzled expression only deepens. After a brief silence, she asks, who are you? Now thoroughly confused, Su Cheng stammers, just a regular guy. Still unsure of what's going on, he offers the umbrella again. A silent plea. Meanwhile, our totally clueless protagonist, Su Cheng, stands awkwardly in his doorway, holding an umbrella out to the strange girl. She stares at it, utterly perplexed, like it's some alien artifact, completely baffled by its very existence. After an uncomfortable silence, she finally breaks it, introducing herself as Jiang He, a member of the prestigious Yin clan. She admits she has absolutely no idea how she ended up here. Su Cheng scratches his head, utterly bewildered, trying to process her words. Yin clan? Is this some kind of cosplay backstory? He wonders. Exhausted by the sheer weirdness of the situation, he lets out a heavy sigh and motions for her to step inside. Inside his modest apartment, Su Cheng racks his brain, trying to figure out what to do next. He decides to call the building guard, hoping for some assistance with his peculiar guest. But as he dials, Jiang He's attention is suddenly drawn to the TV. An advertisement pops up on the screen, colorful and loud. Before Su Cheng can even utter a word, she leaps into action, drawing her sword with blinding speed. In a flash, she strikes the TV with a precise, clean slice. Sparks fly, the screen cracks, and Su Qing utterly freezes in shock. Her face is pale, her hands trembling, as she backs away from the shattered TV, muttering fearfully about dark magic. To her, the moving images must seem like some terrifying, unholy sorcery that needed immediate destruction. The guard's voice crackles through the phone, asking about the strange noise in the background. Su can barely find words, stammering something about just a little incident. But before he can explain, Jiang, he whirls around and locks her intense, bloodshot gaze on him. The guard, sensing the tension through the phone, mutters something about calling back later, and abruptly hangs up. Su Qing lets out a frustrated sigh, his head spinning with a million questions. He tries to break the ice, asking where she's from. Meanwhile, Jiang, still reeling from the magic box, points to the smoldering remnants of the TV, and demands to know if the people trapped inside are the dead. And her confusion doesn't end there. She eyes Su Qing's phone warily, suspiciously, wondering if the brick he was speaking into contains even more trapped souls. Su Qing groans, glancing down at her straw sandals. If she's from some cosplay convention, how is she going to afford to replace my TV? He mutters to himself, finally taking a deep breath. He raises his hands in a calming gesture. Okay. Listen, I'm not going to hurt you. Let's just put the sword down. Jiang, he hesitates, but eventually retrieves her sword from the broken TV, and sheathes it. Su Qing asks for her name and where she's from again. She repeats confidently, I am Jiang He, a disciple of the Yin clan. He chuckles nervously, trying to lighten the mood. Yin clan, huh? That's a cool name. Is your clan rich enough to cover my TV damages? Jiang, he tilts her head, puzzled. You don't know the Yin clan? The times Gucci times Yin clan? Su Qing shrugs, admitting he's never heard of them. Her expression shifts from confusion to outright offense. She stares at him, as if he's just insulted her ancestors. Sensing the growing tension, Su Qing raises his hands again in a placating gesture. Look, I didn't mean anything by it. Ask me anything you want. I'll try to help. Her expression softens, and she timidly admits, I just want to return to the Yan clan. Su Qing sighs. Well, you're in Jiangchen City. Does that mean anything to you, Jiang He? She stays silent, her brows furrowed. Su Qing scratches his head, growing increasingly uneasy. Don't tell me she's actually from ancient times. That's impossible, right? Desperate to make sense of her odd behavior, he decides to test her. Okay, tell me this. Who's your emperor? Jiang He. She looks at him as if he's asked her the most obvious question in the world. The emperor. Everyone should know. Of course, Su Qing blinks. Could you be more specific? Who exactly is this person everyone should know? Her answer, or complete lack thereof, leaves Su Qing utterly speechless. She stares at him, utterly bewildered by his ignorance. As their conversation continued on, the girl then hesitantly asks Su Qing if this is currently the 16th year of Kuyuan. Her bizarre question makes him freeze in shock. Intrigued, Su Qing quickly pulls out his phone and starts searching for information. To his utter amazement, he finds that the 16th year of Kuyuan corresponds directly to the reign of Emperor Xuanzong of the illustrious Tang dynasty, one of the longest reigning emperors in Chinese history. To test her astonishing claim further, Su Qing casually asks if she knows figures, like Li Longji, or other famous personalities from that era. Her face instantly lights up with excitement, and she eagerly asks where she can find them. Su Qing stifles a laugh and jokingly says, You might just see them in a Chinese mobile game. Before their conversation can continue, the sound of someone at the door abruptly interrupts them. A delivery man calls out, announcing the arrival of food. The girl immediately reaches for her sword, ready to confront the intruder. Su Qing panics and rushes to calm her down, waving his hands frantically. No, it's just a delivery guy bringing food. He's not a threat. Lady Jiang pauses, but still looks wary. A servant? She asks. Su Qing sighs and explains. Not exactly. He's just here to drop off the food I ordered. As the delivery man hands over the food, Lady Jiang watches the entire process. With a mix of curiosity and confusion, her eyes wide, as if witnessing some kind of sorcery. Su Qing sets the food down and asks if she's hungry. Want to try something? It's good, he offers. But Lady Jiang nervously shakes her head, stepping back toward the door. She glances around the apartment, and then, out of nowhere, asks, Why does everyone here have such short hair? Are you all exiles? Su Qing almost chokes on air, caught off guard by the bizarre question. He reassures her with a nervous laugh. Oh no, it's just a fashion statement. Trust me, we're not exiles. His mind starts to wander. Wait, what if she did attack someone when she first got here? His pulse quickens, and he blurts out, You didn't hurt anyone, did you? Lady Jiang quickly denies it, explaining that, She was only hiding in the shadows to avoid being seen. Relieved, Su Qing takes a deep breath and unwraps his burger, taking a big bite. But before he can enjoy his meal, Lady Jiang steps closer, her eyes fixed on the food. "What is that?" she asks, pointing at the burger. Su Qing, still chewing, mumbles, "It's just food. A burger. You want some?" She shakes her head firmly, but doesn't move her gaze from the sandwich. Su Qing shrugs and picks up a can of soda. "If you're not hungry, at least try this. It's super sweet. You've probably never had anything like it." Lady Jiang's expression hardens. "Are you mocking me?" she snaps, glaring at him. No, Su says quickly, waving his hands in defense. "I'm just offering, that's all." So their bickering escalates, with Lady Jiang accusing him of being disrespectful, and Su trying to explain himself. In the middle of their squabble, Su Qing accidentally knocks over his can of soda, and the fizzy liquid spills across the floor. Lady Jiang's eyes widen in horror as she watches the bubbling drink spread. "What is this black, disgusting substance? Were you trying to poison me?" Su Qing starts sweating bullets, shaking his head furiously. "It's not poison, it's just a drink. Look, I'll prove it." Before she can draw her sword again, Su Qing grabs another can, opens it, and takes a big gulp. "See? Totally fine." Lady Jiang lowers her blade, but he's still eyeing that soda with suspicion. Su Qing exhales in relief, muttering under his breath. "Seriously, can you please stop unsheathing your sword? Every single time something even slightly weird happens, you're terrifying my cat." And, as if on cue, his feline friend, Melon, peeks cautiously from under the couch, her fur bristling. Su Qing then eyes Lady Jiang, and starts to weigh his extremely limited options. Okay, how am I possibly going to deal with her? Option 1. Trick her into going outside, and just hope she figures things out on her own. But no. She'd probably just end up on the news. Or worse. Option 2. Call the cops. Yeah, great idea, Su Qing, until she totally freaks out and starts slicing up the officers. Nope, hard pass on that one. Option 3. Keep her here. Maybe I can actually learn something from her? Ancient kung fu techniques? Secret Tang Dynasty recipes? Could be cool. Unless, of course, she decides to chop me in half someday. After a moment of heavy contemplation, Su Qing lets out a truly resigned sigh. "All right," he mutters, looking directly at her, "guess you're staying. Let's see how this goes." With that internal debate finally settled, Su Qing offers her the burger once again. The sight of the tantalizing food seems to make her visibly hesitate, but she stubbornly looks away, asking, "What exactly times this thing you're holding?" Determined to prove it's definitely not poisonous, Su Qing takes a massive bite. She watches him closely, her eyes sharp and intense, before finally nodding. "Go ahead," she tells him as he chews. She seems to carefully observe his every movement, as if trying to decode this strange, modern food. Seeing just how interested she is, Su Qing realizes the burger might not be enough to truly satisfy her. So, he suggests making a rice bowl instead. Maybe her ancient stomach can't handle this modern food. I should make something more familiar for her, he thinks. However, deep down, he knows it's really just an excuse. He's the one who actually wants more food. As he finishes off the burger, Lady Jane's irritation is palpable. She's clearly miffed. He devoured it so fast, without even offering her a single bite. Su Qing motions for her to take a seat, but she hesitates, her guard up, warily pressing her hand against the chair to test it. It's clear she doesn't fully trust him, despite the kindness he's shown her, like offering her his umbrella. His room is packed with peculiar objects, and he eats such strange foods. Who knows what else might be lurking in this unfamiliar world? Once she finally sits down, she meticulously surveys her surroundings. "Where exactly am I?" she asks again, her voice thick with uncertainty. Su Qing calmly reminds her, "You're in Jiangcheng City." Lady Jiang's eyes light up with a spark of hope. "Do you know how I can return home?" Su Cheng's heart skips a beat when he sees her hand drift to her sword once more. He quickly raises his hands, urging her to put it down before he'll answer. After a tense moment, the sword is back in its sheath, and Su Qing sighs deeply. He looks at her solemnly and begins to explain. "You may not be able to go back," he says softly. "We're really far from your home." Lady Jane's face tightens. "How far?" she presses. Su Qing hesitates, but finally says, "About 1,200 years away." The words hit her like a physical blow. She stares at him, utterly dumbfounded. "What do you mean, 1,200 years?" He explains. "It's been that long since you arrived from your time. People like Li Bai, Yang Guifei, and Lu Sun, legends from your era, they're long gone. They've been dead for over 1,000 years. Lady Jiang's eyes widen in utter shock. She doesn't believe it. You're lying, she snaps, shaking her head in fierce disbelief. Su Cheng remains calm and gestures around the room. Just look around you. Nothing is the same. This world runs on its own rules now. Sure, it might be cool once you get the hang of it, but it's also risky. Despite his explanation, Lady Jane still isn't convinced. In a burst of frustration, she draws her sword once more, aiming it right at his face. Su Cheng, however, remains perfectly calm, his voice steady. You might want to stop waving that sword around though. That's against the law. You know, you should really learn the rules here. Lady Jiang pauses, mulling over his words, then asks, why are you even bothering to help me? Su Cheng scratches his head, searching for just the right words. Well, it's kind of like how I helped my fluffy cat, Melon. She was really struggling, out in the big, scary world, and I just felt like I had times to help her. His words, naturally, come out all wrong, and Lady Jiang's face tightens with irritation. You're comparing times me times to a times cat asterisk? Realizing his colossal mistake, Su Cheng quickly tries to clarify. No, wait. I mean, I didn't think twice about helping you because you were in trouble, just like Melon. You're times not times like a cat, I swear. He swears. But Lady Jiang stands there, fuming for a moment. But then, after a pause, she calms down a little, her sharp gaze softens. All right, maybe you're not such a bad guy after all. You let me in, you offered food, that's more than most people would do. So, why did you help me? Our hero chuckles, explaining that meeting such a quirky, ancient girl like her isn't something he experiences every day. He's genuinely curious about her, you see, and he adds, if our roles were reversed, you'd probably be just as curious about me. Lady Jiang quickly shuts him down. If someone as strange as you showed up in my era, the chief would have chopped you down right away. Su Cheng reminds her, this era is all about peace and love though. No need for any violence. As long as you're here, you've got times to follow the rules. Don't hurt anyone, and definitely don't destroy anything. He gives her one final stern reminder before turning away. If you want my help, it's yours. But if you prefer to wander off on your own, that's up to you. Just don't hurt anyone, or you'll get arrested. Lady Jiang finds herself in quite a tough spot. She doesn't want to stay, but she doesn't have many options left. Su Cheng sighs and offers, if you want to stay here, I can totally order you some food, but that sword of yours has to stay behind. I'm not exactly looking to get arrested either, you know? With a heavy sigh, she reluctantly drops her mighty sword. With that out of the way, Su Cheng begins to brainstorm, figuring out what kind of food he could order that wouldn't completely freak her out. He briefly considers mooncakes, but quickly thinks better of it. Rice and buns definitely feel like a much safer bet. He suggests, why don't you go take a shower, while we wait for our food to magically appear? Lady Jiang is utterly clueless, asking, where am I supposed to bathe? Su Cheng then leads her right into the bathroom, and she's absolutely stunned by what she sees. Don't get too shocked, he chuckles, because there are plenty more surprises in store, and everything here is perfectly safe. He then points to the shower, explaining, this is how you get yourself clean. She stares at it like an inquisitive puppy, and after a moment, bravely tries it out. Su Cheng simply can't resist, snapping a pic of her priceless, curious expression. He then introduces her to the wonders of shampoo and the truly mind-blowing concept of a toilet. She's utterly bewildered, yet undeniably intrigued. Su Cheng waits outside, busily rummaging through his things, trying to find something even remotely suitable for her to wear. In the middle of his search, he accidentally opens the bathroom door, mid-knock. Realizing she probably has no idea how to lock it, he sheepishly informs her that there are no women's clothes available. So, she'll just have to wait for new ones. He quickly teaches her how to properly lock the door, and she promptly kicks him out. As she revels in her very first shower ever, here in this bewildering modern world, Su Cheng can't help but wonder if any of this is actually real. He picks up her sword, examining it with great care, considering having an expert confirm if it's truly authentic. Lady Jiang eventually emerges from the bath, now sporting a brand new outfit. As Su Cheng continues diligently with his task, she notices what he's writing and curiously asks, what in the world are you doing? He hands her the paper. It's a list detailing various modern-day marvels she needs to get accustomed to, and their essential everyday products, which she'll absolutely need for her daily life. Lady Jiang stares wide-eyed at the daunting list. Then she starts complaining about her outfit. Su Cheng, without a second thought, compliments her. You look pretty. She immediately freezes, warning. Don't get any funny ideas. She warns sternly. No flirtatious remarks. Su Cheng, slightly embarrassed, quickly clarifies, I'm not hitting on you. It's just a compliment. That's what people do when someone looks good. Just then, he notices her straw slippers. Those are a bit outdated. I'll get you new ones tomorrow, he promises, as he admires Lady Zhang's cuteness. A sudden knock on the door startles her. She tenses. But Su Cheng quickly reassures her. It's just a delivery boy with the food. Su Cheng can't help but think of her like a wildcat, always alert, ready to pounce at any moment. He smiles to himself, before taking the food out of the plastic bag, and handing it to her. Lady Zhang hesitates for a moment, then remembers something her vice captain once told her. If someone's helping you for free, they must have an ulterior motive. Hearing this, Su Cheng looks at her, slightly hurt, but she suddenly smiles at him and says, "But I believe you're actually a good person." A bit stunned by her sudden change in attitude, Su Cheng sighs with relief. He watches her finish her food, and then decides to have a serious talk with her. "Lady Zhang," he starts, "you're not in the primitive era anymore. You need to adjust your way of thinking. If you keep relying on that sword for survival, and, worse, end up killing me, you wouldn't last a week out here." Before running out of food, he gives her a pointed look. "You need to stop playing with that sword. There are better ways to survive here, like using the TV for entertainment." He gestures to the TV on the table. "The smartphone is useful too. Trust me. You're safe here. No one is going to harm you." Lady Zhang nods slowly, and Su Cheng feels relieved. But then, the conversation turns to more serious matters. "This world is peaceful, but things can get dangerous for you if you're not careful," Su Cheng explains. "For example, if you walked into a royal castle with your sword out, they probably throw you in jail. Same goes for anywhere else in the world right now." Lady Zhang listens, her curiosity piqued. "What do you mean? Why would that happen?" Su Cheng continues, "It's because there are rules now. You also need something called an ID card. To prove who you are, cops might stop you and ask for it. So the first thing I need to do is help you get one, or you're gonna stick out like a sore thumb." Lady Zhang is confused. "Am I like some kind of refugee here?" Su Cheng shakes his head. "It's actually worse. The consequences are serious. If you get caught without an ID, it's not just about fitting in. It's about keeping yourself safe." Lady Zhang's eyes widened in fear. Su Cheng quickly tries to calm her down. "Look, meeting someone from 12 years ago isn't exactly something that happens every day. I'll help you, but you've got to cooperate with me." She remains hesitant, still not sure she can trust him. "I just want to go back home," she mutters. Su Cheng sighs. "I know, but it won't be easy for me to help you. If you don't cooperate, our best shot is for you to follow my lead." Lady Zhang reluctantly agrees, asking, "What do I do first?" Su Cheng doesn't waste any time. "First off, never pull out that sword again." They fall into a brief silence, and Lady Zhang suddenly looks around, her curiosity returning. "Where's your wife?" she asks, clearly hoping to find someone she can gossip with. Su Cheng freezes, then awkwardly admits, "I'm actually unmarried." Lady Zhang is taken aback. A quiet pause fills the room. Su Cheng quickly reassures her. "It's normal for someone my age to be unmarried. Don't worry about it." Trying to change the subject, he gestures toward a door. "I've got a spare room for you. You can make yourself comfortable there." Lady Jane nods quietly and follows him, as he leads her to the new room. The room, it's full of stuff, but Su Cheng swiftly tidies up the space, making just enough room for her to sleep comfortably. It's clear as day. She's not exactly thrilled to be staying in this rundown place, especially with someone as odd as him. Still, Su Cheng grabs some spare blankets and arranges them neatly on the bed, encouraging her to get some rest. He knows she must be feeling utterly confused, and he hopes that when they wake up tomorrow, it'll all just feel like a dream. Before leaving the room, he properly introduces himself as Su Cheng, wishes her good night, and steps out, leaving her alone to settle in. Lady Zhang first places her sword carefully beside the bed, then sits down, staring intently at the cozy bed. When midnight strikes, Su Cheng finds himself wide awake, restless and reflecting on the sheer chaos of the day. He had been rejected in job interviews, then it started raining, but somehow he made it home, only to meet a girl, who draws her sword every single time she feels threatened. He shakes his head, and decides to push it all out of his mind. "Forget it," he mutters, then goes back to sleep. Tomorrow, he has a lot to handle. The next morning, Su Cheng wakes up and checks his phone. It's already 10 a.m. He jolts awake, suddenly remembering the strange lady. Panicking, he looks around and spots her sitting right there, which confirms that it definitely wasn't just a dream. He gathers himself, smiles, and wishes her a good morning, asking why she's up so early. She reminds him it's almost noon. Su Cheng, trying to get back on track, asks if she's hungry. She nods, though she says a little. Suddenly, she starts rummaging around her chest, then hurries back to her room. She returns, holding 2 silver pieces, and hands them to him, saying, "You can use these to buy food." Su Ching stares at the silver in his hands, utterly amazed. He knows silver isn't worth much these days, but he thinks, if she has any gold, I could exchange that for some serious cash. And maybe even help her get an ID card. She pulls out another piece of stone, but Su Ching quickly tells her to keep it. He reminds her she's not allowed outside just yet. He gives her a quick once-over, sizing her up, and then promises, I'll pick up some clothes for you later. I'll bring back some food as well. With that, he heads to the bathroom to freshen up. Once ready, he makes his way to the shopping center, his mission, to pick out some clothes for her. After sifting through countless options, his eyes settle on a particular dress, and he tells the attendant, I'll take that one. While still shopping, he spots a display of bras in the distance, but he hesitates, thinking, I can't buy those alone, he thinks, feeling incredibly embarrassed. After about an hour, he finally finishes his shopping spree, now laden with bags of women's clothes and cosmetics. He's definitely not thrilled about carrying them around, but it's a necessary evil. Next, he heads to a bookstore, picks up a few books, and then makes his way back to the apartment. The city is bustling, but his focus is solely on getting back. As he reaches the entrance of his building, the guard stops him, his eyes immediately drawn to the shopping bags. Su Cheng instinctively tries to hide the feminine items, but the guard definitely notices, eyeing his purchases. He then asks Su Cheng, what's with all this shopping? Su Cheng, trying to cover his tracks, stammers, oh, I dialed the wrong number yesterday, that was a mistake. The guard raises an eyebrow, but then warns him, be careful, there've been some thefts around here lately. Su Cheng nods, offering a reassuring smile, and reassures the guard, don't worry, I'll keep that in mind. Once Su Cheng gets back to his apartment, he finds the lady standing in a defensive stance, her sword almost fully drawn, ready to defend herself from any potential intruders. He quickly reassures her that she's safe and sound, and hands over the food box he brought, mentioning he also brought some other essentials for her. As he watches her, something suddenly clicks in his mind, and he looks at her with a newfound curiosity. She notices his gaze and asks, what's on your mind? He awkwardly wonders aloud, shouldn't you be thanking me? Seeing me as some kind of young hero, or at least a decent guy, or something like that? The lady, not fully grasping his peculiar train of thought, thanks him anyway. It seems like it might take a while for her to fully figure out what this all means. The strange guy thinks they'll just dig right into the food, and she devours her meal like a wild animal. This totally surprises Su Cheng. He'd expected a more elegant woman from her era, but he's actually pleased to see her enjoying herself. After they finish eating, Su Cheng lays out all the clothes he bought, showing her the new dresses and shoes. As he digs around for more stuff, the lady spots the bra he bought for her. Su Cheng totally freaks out, as if his soul might escape from his virgin body. He quickly tells her to keep the bra down, and promises to send her a video, explaining how to use it. Feeling totally flustered, he just dumps all the stuff he bought, and tells her to just figure it out herself. He also brought some books, to help her understand this world, and its culture better. Su Cheng plans to teach her how to use a computer, so she can learn on her own. Noticing she looks tired, he suggests she get plenty of sleep, before they figure out their next move. The lady then asks about his status in this world, prompting Su Cheng to totally rethink his response. He admits he's a graduate student, still on the job hunt. It's funny how, despite being unemployed, he's still able to splurge on fancy clothes and cosmetics. The lady begins to think he might be some rich kid, but Su Cheng quickly shuts that down, saying he comes from a poor background. Then she wonders if he could be a landlord or something. Su Cheng, feeling the need to change the subject, watches her as she dives into the books. However, when she flips through some pages and sees pictures from her own era, tears well up in her eyes, as she starts thinking about how she can possibly get back home. Su Cheng, trying to keep the mood light, reminds her that he has no idea how to get her back, but asks, how did you even end up here? The lady reveals that she was chasing a small thief in the heavy rain, got lost in the middle of the forest, and wandered around, until she spotted these tall buildings. Su Cheng, while still clueless about how to help her find her way back home, he cleverly changes the subject. Before you can return, you've got to survive in this world, he says, then asks, what's your military rank and martial arts skills? The reason he asks is that he's secretly curious about her martial arts abilities. Su Cheng is thoroughly impressed. As the lady confidently explains her martial arts skills, she reveals that her Yin clan is the most powerful clan around, and when he asks how high she can jump without getting hurt, she points to the 4th floor of the building, saying she could jump from there without a scratch. Su Cheng's eyes practically pop out of his head at the revelation. Excited, he eagerly asks to see all her fancy moves, spouting off names of martial arts moves he probably picked up from video games. However, it's all gibberish to her. He even asks if she knows Kung Fu, and offers to learn from her, but she quickly tells him to calm down, reminding him that he's past the age for learning, and no matter how determined he is, he won't achieve much. Suqing, slightly deflated, asks if the moves are super strict, but the lady shakes her head, explaining that it's not about being a master, just a few basic moves without all the rigid rules. She then gets into position, and shows him the first simple martial arts move, focusing on the waist and grounding yourself. She explains that martial arts training takes time, built bit by bit, day by day. Suqing, still eager, asks if he can practice steps, literally begging her. She reminds him that it would take 3 years to learn the basics, and he quickly decides that in that time, he could become a full-fledged soldier, so he gives up on martial arts, and asks her to teach him sword techniques instead. Once again, the lady brings him back to reality, telling him, "You've passed the time to perfect your reflexes." Since his eyes just couldn't keep up with his lightning-fast hands, Suqing finally gives up on his dream of becoming a warrior. He simply tells her to go try on the clothes he bought for her. While she's in the bathroom, Suqing can't resist the golden opportunity. He snatches her sword and starts wildly swinging it around, acting like he's some super ninja. But he quickly realizes the sword is just way too heavy for his puny muscles. When the lady finally steps out of the bathroom, looking absolutely smoking hot in her brand new outfit, Suqing is left completely in awe. The clothes fit her perfectly, and she checks herself out, making sure they aren't too tight anywhere. It's at this exact moment Suqing remembers he totally forgot to buy her a hairband. He tells her to tie her hair back with a band, and once she does, she looks even hotter. Overcome with emotion, Suqing starts crying, feeling bad for underestimating her intelligence. Just because she's from ancient times, he decides to take her for a walk that night, and promises to buy her a proper hair tie. While they're out, as dusk settled in, the girl peeked outside her room, and saw our boy sitting at his desk, completely absorbed in his screen. Curiosity quickly got the better of her, and she stepped out, asking what he was up to. Without looking away, he tried to explain computers to her, in the simplest way possible, like how you could trash talk everyone in the crazy lobbies of Call of Duty. He even threw in a warning, telling her to stay far away from Sean, if she wanted to keep her sanity intact. Switching topics, he asked if she was having fun reading all those books. She let out a small sigh, admitting that most of it was flying right over her head, but she was slowly getting the hang of it. The boy chuckled, and told her to take it easy, reassuring her that there was no rush at all. He reminded her that she was already brave and smart, and joked that if he were in her place, he'd probably be a lost cause by now. Hearing this, Lady Jane glanced at him warmly, her cheeks turning a soft shade of red. As he relaxed at his desk, utterly oblivious to her lingering gaze, she quietly crept up behind him once more, then asked if he didn't have any work to do. He simply shrugged, casually stating he was already hustling to earn his keep in this world. But when she tried to picture someone making money, the last image that popped into her head was a guy sitting idly in front of a giant screen, appearing to do absolutely nothing. With a playful smirk, he then explained he was actually trying to snag some quick cash online, though he knew all the complex text and numbers wouldn't make a lick of sense to her. He instead suggested she start with the absolute basics. Just then, a brilliant idea suddenly struck him. He asked how strong her chief's martial arts skills were, and without a moment's hesitation, she proudly declared he was incredibly, unbelievably strong. Seizing the perfect moment, the boy pulled up a thrilling video on his screen, and asked, "Do the fighters in this clip look powerful enough for you?" Lady Jane's eyes instantly widened with sheer excitement, as she watched the intense fight scenes unfold before her. The boy, just as enthusiastic, leaned in close, and eagerly asked for her thoughts. In a small, timid voice, she admitted she had never, ever seen anything quite like it in her entire life. Just imagining such mighty warriors made her so nervous. She felt the urge to pray. Grinning mischievously, he clicked on yet another video. This time, it showed a guy utterly smashing through an entire wall, with nothing but the palm of his hand. As soon as she saw it, pure terror washed over her face. Trembling, she turned to him, her voice shaky, and asked if everyone in this world possessed such magnificent power. Trying hard not to laugh, he quickly reassured her that it was all completely fake, nothing but mere fiction. But that only made her even more suspicious. Narrowing her eyes critically, she demanded to know if he was truly telling the truth. The boy nodded firmly, repeating, all the kung fu she had just seen was total nonsense. He went on to explain that in his world, people crafted these things purely from their own imaginations. The martial arts she saw in those videos were simply how people pictured it should look, over the top and wildly exaggerated. Slowly but surely, Lady Zhang seemed to be grasping these perplexing new ideas. Seeing her thoughtful expression, he reassured her that in time, she'd come to understand absolutely everything about arts and movies. Su Qing finally asked the question that had been burning on his mind. Was her chief's kung fu better than what he had seen so far? She hesitated for a moment, but eventually admitted that, no, it wasn't. Not satisfied, he then asked about flying techniques. She confirmed they existed, but most people specialized in just one kind. She even pointed out how unrealistic those flashy movie stunts truly were, reminding him that physical strength always had its limits. Su Qing thought for a moment, then pulled up yet another video and asked if she could actually pull off that move. She considered it, then stood up from her seat and, without warning, started swinging her hands at an incredible, lightning speed, moving so fast that she seemed like an absolute blur. Su Qing's eyes widened in utter amazement, completely thrilled to see her perfectly nail the technique. Excitedly, he told her she had it down absolutely perfectly. She simply smiled and told him to reach out any time if he wanted to learn, promising to teach him. With that, she headed out, leaving him grinning from ear to ear, probably already imagining himself as a future martial arts master someday. As she walked to her room, a fat cat sat in her way, staring at her expectantly, but she ignored the little furball and shut the door right in its face. Once inside, she let out a deep sigh, fear creeping coldly into her heart. There was no one in this world without ulterior motives, after all. It suddenly dawned on her, the only reason Su Qing was helping her was to learn her martial arts. This strange new world felt utterly overwhelming, and none of it made any sense to her at all. Her gaze drifted to the wide ceiling, and with a determined look, she snatched her sword and dove straight into practice. The sounds drifting from her room instantly piqued Su Qing's curiosity. Wait, wasn't she planning a nap? Utterly drained, he collapsed onto his bed. Still, he found it absolutely unbelievable that a woman was staying in the room, right next to his. Just that thought alone filled him with ridiculous joy. And with those sweet thoughts dancing in his mind, he suddenly drifted off to sleep. Loud voices abruptly jolted him awake. He peered outside to see it was already dusk. A quick check of his phone revealed he'd slept through the entire day. Jumping out of bed, he decided to take Lady Zhang out and introduce her to the world outside. As she slipped on her shoes, he laid down the ground rules, insisting she couldn't do anything without his express permission. He warned her about the do's and don'ts of public areas, making absolutely sure she understood everything. She meekly nodded, replying with a soft yes. But before they stepped out, Su Qing made sure to snap a quick photo of her, just in case. In the photo, however, Lady Zhang's pretty face looked anything but charming. Instead, she resembled a shady molester, eagerly eyeing some peachy sights on the street. The boy, hoping to lighten the mood, asked her to give him a smile, but her forced grin turned out even worse than her usual expression, making him nearly pass out on the spot. Deciding to abandon the picture idea altogether, he quickly suggested they should just get going. Before heading out, though, he cautiously told her to leave her sword behind, not wanting to attract any trouble. Lady Zhang, of course, refused right away, but the boy reassured her confidently, stating that the people outside were as weak as he was, so she didn't need to worry. After some hesitation, she reluctantly handed over the sword. While she stood there, he sneakily snapped another picture. This time, he managed to get a really good shot. Feeling utterly satisfied, he cheerfully declared it was time to get going. Stepping right out of the apartment building, Lady Jane's gaze darted nervously, taking everything in. The boy noticed her unease and casually explained that this was just a regular, everyday neighborhood, where families lived. He pointed out the main entrance, the bustling road outside, and the stores lining both sides, where people could grab food, clothes, or anything else they might need. Just then, her attention locked onto a guy zipping by on a scooter, her face filled with utter awe, as if it were some fantastical, magical ride. As they continued their stroll, they passed by a few other folks, and that's precisely when trouble began to brew. A rather stout woman spotted Lady Zhang, and immediately recognized her face. Panicked, the girl quickly ducked behind the boy, while the woman insisted, eyes narrowing, she'd definitely seen her somewhere before. At the same time, a nearby security guard, noticing their unusual closeness, teasingly asked if the boy had finally snagged himself a new girlfriend. Laughing it off, he casually replied, she was just a friend. But the determined woman wasn't giving up so easily, so she suddenly pointed a finger right at Lady Zhang, and confidently announced she was the Times sword-wielding woman from yesterday's incident. The guard's curiosity immediately piqued, and the two began discussing the incident in vivid detail. Before things could escalate any further, our quick-thinking boy quickly jumped in, yelling that it was just Times cosplay, where people dress up as fictional or historical characters for fun and entertainment. Luckily, the woman seemed to buy his explanation, nodding in understanding. Not wasting a second, the boy grabbed Lady Zhang's hand firmly and swiftly walked away. Watching them leave together brought a nostalgic smile to a nearby old man who was reminded of his own vibrant youth. Once they were safely out of sight, Lady Zhang abruptly pulled her hand away from his, looking a little grumpy. Curious, the boy asked her directly if that woman had really seen her yesterday, but she remained completely silent. Her reaction, however, was enough for him to guess. It seems she might have bumped into that lady on the stairs before just shrugging it off. They then resumed their journey through the bustling, vibrant streets. As they walked, Lady Zhang's eyes widened in sheer amazement at the sight of cars zooming right past them. Completely shocked by their speed and massive size, she just couldn't hide her utter disbelief. The boy chuckled softly and quickly gave her a rundown on how cars had evolved, from simple horse-drawn carriages into these powerful, modern machines. But his explanation didn't quite convince her. With a surprisingly serious expression, she confidently concluded that there must be a horse trapped inside each car, providing all the much-needed horsepower to make it run. Then, our boy introduces Lady Zhang to the concept of cameras, explaining how those movies they watch were actually filmed, using these incredible devices. He points to a nearby CCTV camera and warns her that, if she were to misbehave, right here, right now, people from far away would be watching them, and could even get them arrested. Reassuring her though, he adds that, as long as she just behaves herself, she won't be their target. Lady Zhang then picks up a few pebbles from the ground, eyeing those cameras suspiciously. But before she can even think about acting, the boy quickly warns her, "Don't you dare even think about knocking out any cameras." She stops dead in her tracks immediately, and he calmly tells her to put those stones away. Moving on, he explains how traffic lights actually work, pointing at the bright signals, and telling her that red means stop, and green means it's safe to cross. While sharing all this information, he mentions he's explaining it not just for her, but also for my viewers, friends, to learn too. Yes, I'm talking about you guys asterisk. Once they cross the road, Lady Zhang's attention is completely captivated by the bright streetlights and bustling grocery stores. The high-speed cars zooming past fascinate her even more as they continue walking. The boy notices a cute hair ribbon in a nearby shop and picks it up for her. But as he imagines her wearing it, those adorable furballs on her head make him question if it would truly suit her. He stands there, utterly lost in thought, scanning through all the cute and sparkly items displayed right in front of them. Lady Zhang, however, perks up with immediate excitement, and when he asks if she likes a particular ribbon, she immediately says yes, holding it in her hands. She stretches it vigorously at first, but soon, she figures out how to use it properly and puts it on, looking utterly cute and beautiful. Even the boy can't help but admire her. As the sun sets and the city lights up, the duo heads into a bustling restaurant. Our boy orders 2 plates of fried rice, cakes with extra spices and a side of sliced cucumber. While looking for a place to sit, he tells Zhang that this is the very place where all their food comes from. He trusts this restaurant completely because they serve the absolute best food, and he's been enjoying it since he was a kid. Lady Zhang, however, seems completely mesmerized by the vibrant lights around them, so much so that she's startled when the waiter suddenly arrives with their food. The boy starts eating right away and offers her a pair of chopsticks. She looks nervous, hesitating as she holds them awkwardly. As he gulps down his lemon juice, he realizes that letting her wander off alone might not have been the best idea after all. She clearly needs more guidance than he initially thought, but he's confident he can teach her everything, step by step. After they finish eating and pay the bill, they leave the restaurant feeling completely satisfied, especially our boy, who's quite pleased with how the evening turned out. Once they arrive back home, he glances at her and asks if she's starting to feel more comfortable. She doesn't say a word, simply sitting quietly on the couch, lost in thought. Trying to lighten the mood, he reassures her that life here actually wasn't half bad, especially with all the delicious food and endless junk snacks to munch on. He added that once she got her own ID card, she'd be able to enjoy life here even more. But despite all his efforts, she still didn't look too thrilled. In a soft voice, she murmured, "I want to go home." But once again, he had to remind her of the harsh truth. Her home no longer existed. It had already been 1,200 years, and there was no going back. Reality was sinking in, whether she liked it or not. After a long pause, she finally asked how they were going to solve her identity issue. He admitted he wasn't some government official who could just snap his fingers and fix it, but there was always a way. With a confident smile, he assured her he'd figure something out. Hearing his words, she looked a little flustered, but grateful for his kindness. This time, she properly thanked him, calling him a young warrior. Amused, he responded with the same brotherly energy, reminding her that identity was absolutely crucial in this world. Without it, life would be nearly impossible to navigate. He then asked where that list he'd given her yesterday was. She pointed towards the dustbin. Disappointed, he told her to retrieve it immediately. As she dug the crumpled paper out of the trash, she glanced at him and asked what they would do if the ID card issue couldn't be resolved. Without hesitation, he pointed out the harsh reality. Without an ID, she'd be considered a criminal. There wouldn't be much he could do to help. No ID meant no job, no property, not even the ability to use public transport. He emphasized that in this time's world, an ID card was the ultimate key to survival. Hearing this, a spark of an idea flashed across her face. She asked if making money and finding a place to live would make the ID less important, but he shook his head, explaining that even with money, there were still countless things she wouldn't be able to do, like opening a bank account, from getting a phone to even trying online shopping. The possibilities were truly endless as they talked. He then quickly opened his laptop and searched for information on an unregistered residence, suggesting she could also try approaching the authorities directly for help, reassuring her that at worst, they might just take her in, but he was certain they would treat her well. At the mere mention of authorities, Lady Zhang's expression instantly shifted. Without missing a beat, she reached for her sword, eyeing him suspiciously as if he planned to turn her in. He quickly waved her off, telling her to forget all that and focus on studying. First, he suggested she start by learning some history, or anything at all. That would help her understand modern society better. Once she had a basic grasp, she could decide what to do next. For a moment, she fell silent, her face filled with a mix of anxiety and sadness. She hesitated for a moment, before asking if it would be a problem for him if she stayed here. Our hero smiled, and reassured her that she could crash here as long as she wanted, but there was one condition. She shouldn't fight or kill with her sword. He promised everything would be fine without it. Just then, the cat strolled over, rubbing against his leg. He realized he had almost forgotten to feed the little furball. In all the madness, with a chuckle, he played around with the cat for a bit, before turning to Lady Zhang and suggesting that if she had nothing better to do, she could try studying. Without a word, she bowed her head and decided to follow his advice. Meanwhile, our boy scrolled through the internet, but it didn't seem like he found anything worthwhile. That's when he decided to call someone he knew, his best friend, Qin Hao, who was now a police officer, though he wasn't entirely sure if Qian Hao's internship had ended, and if he had officially become a full-blown officer, he figured it was worth a call. As he typed out a message, he briefly considered telling him about reuniting with a girl from 12 years ago, but he quickly thought better of it. Instead, he opted for a casual meetup, without revealing anything out of the ordinary. Pleased with his cunning plan, he decided to take a shower to freshen up. The warm, steamy bath left him feeling utterly satisfied. Just as he wrapped up, a thought crossed his mind. Lady Jane hadn't showered yet. He shook the thought away, not wanting to dwell on it. However, it suddenly dawned on him that he was sharing his space with a girl. If she caught him wandering around naked, things could get really awkward. Thankfully, he managed to slip into his room without incident. A while later, Lady Jane cautiously peeked out of her room, clutching her clothes tightly. She darted toward the bathroom and shut the door behind her for a much-needed bath. It seemed like she still followed her old routines, just as she did in ancient times. Since it was the weekend, the boy decided to teach her something new. He grabbed a digital writing pad and began showing her how to write. Lady Zhang was already quite skilled at reading traditional Chinese characters and their pronunciation, so she was eager to try her hand at writing. Just as she was getting the hang of it, their focus shifted when Melon the cat suddenly popped up, meowing for attention. Noticing the cat's hungry eyes, the boy decided it was time to feed her. While he dished out the cat food, Lady Jane watched curiously and asked what it actually was. He explained that it was special food, made just for cats to eat. Lady Zhang listened intently, then, in her mind, started picturing how such food might be produced. She imagined pouches filled with cat food, hanging from tall trees, swaying gently in the breeze, as if nature itself provided meals for the furry creatures. A sudden knock echoed through the room. Our boy dashed to the door and grabbed the food delivery, offering it to the lady. He announced, "This is your dinner for the night." He added he'd be leaving soon to meet a friend, to inquire about her identity card. Without a moment's hesitation, the girl eagerly started digging into the food. Observing her, the boy then reassured her he'd teach her how to use a phone and computer for easy communication. Just then, Little Melon, his cat, let out a soft meow, clearly begging for a share of the food. With a smile, the boy scooped up his furry friend, reminding her to stick to her own cat food. Curious, the lady hesitated for a moment, before meekly asking, "Could I share a little bit with the cat?" The boy nodded, explaining that human food wasn't healthy for cats. The lady's eyes widened in surprise, her mind freezing for a moment. If this food wasn't good for animals, how could it possibly be good for humans? Suddenly, her burger didn't smell as delicious anymore. A little while later, the boy showed Lady Jiang how to use Discord on his phone, explaining it in the simplest terms possible. He made it clear he wouldn't be hiding inside the computer. Instead, transmission waves would carry his voice. Leaving his dormitory, he scratched his head, wondering if everything would be okay. Soon enough, a short bus ride brought him to his destination. Stepping off, he scanned the area and spotted his friend in the distance. Waving, they met face to face. They exchanged greetings, and Officer Chin poured him a cold beer. He mentioned it was the first time he'd ever served him a drink. As they sat down, our boy curiously asked how a police officer like him could drink. Officer Chin chuckled, explaining he's off duty and dressed casually, just here as an ordinary person. With that settled, the boy carefully placed his order. Already, thinking about the delicious dishes he's about to devour, they clink their glasses together, toasting each other warmly. As they start chatting, Su Qing asks about work, curious what it's like to be an outstanding officer. Qin Ji bluntly calls it terrible. All that talk about heroes saving the day? Pure nonsense. Most of his days are spent handling trivial disputes, like squabbles between couples, or mediating arguments among neighborhood elderly ladies. He hardly ever gets to chase down thieves, or tackle serious crimes. It's all just daily disputes, and meaningless drama. Su Qing, ever the optimist, points out the brighter side of things. At least people are living and working happily, and that's a good thing. Qin Ji leans back, a tired smile playing on his lips, admitting he once dreamed of becoming a police officer when he was a kid. But back then, he faced a major setback. He stopped growing at 1.6 meters. With the minimum height requirement set at 1.7 meters, he was absolutely crushed. He cried his heart out in Su Qing's arms. Luckily, things changed when the height requirement was replaced with a high jump test. Qinzi practiced every single day and eventually achieved his dream. But now, after dealing with nothing but minor disputes, he's so utterly exhausted. He jokes he'd even fight a woman with a sword, just to stir up some real excitement. Su Qing immediately shakes his head, telling him not to joke about such things. Suddenly, our boy changes the subject, casually asking what would happen if a homeless person, who had lost their memory, wanted to get an ID card and find work, without any proof of citizenship. The officer, without hesitation, bluntly states that getting an ID card wouldn't be easy. Someone fitting that description was likely a shady person, and it wouldn't be simple for them to prove their identity. With the sharpness of an officer doing his duty, he immediately asks the boy for the name and the address of the person he was discussing. Caught off guard, our boy quickly fabricated a tale about how his uncle's son had a friend in a similar predicament. But before he could elaborate further, the officer sharply interrupted him, telling him to cut the nonsense. He reminded him that without concrete proof, like a verifiable blood test, getting an ID was completely out of the question. Still, the boy persisted, asking, what if the person he encountered was truly unidentified and enigmatic, like a homeless individual wandering the streets? The officer, clearly not convinced, pointed out that if someone's behavior seemed suspicious, they would automatically be subject to investigation. At that moment, our boy noticed his friend, eyeing him with an overtly suspicious gaze. Annoyed, he quickly snapped at him to stop staring, as if he were hiding a fugitive. He insisted he wasn't here to figure out how to conceal someone's identity. Chin Hao chuckled, then smoothly reassured him, saying he absolutely trusted him. He then suggested that if the boy was truly curious, he should simply ask the stranger for basic information. He also mentioned they could cross-check the person's details through a public directory, or even DNA records if truly necessary. But just as the conversation began to truly pique interest, Chin Hao's mood abruptly shifted. He suddenly grew irritated, and told the boy to drop the topic altogether. Without waiting for a response, he aggressively downed his beer in frustration. The boy just laughed it off, joking that the only reason he even brought it up was because he needed something to talk about. Otherwise, they wouldn't have met in the first place. With a playful grin, he tells his friend to forget everything, and jokingly stretches out his hands, asking him to handcuff him. He's curious to experience what it's like to be interrogated and cuffed. laughing it off. They head inside, and once they're settled, our hero brings up the topic of the ID card again. But the officer's response remains frustratingly unchanged. He explains that if getting a new ID was times simple, criminals would just be out stabbing folks left and right, swapping identities daily to evade capture. Their back and forth continues, beer after glorious beer, until the officer eventually passes out cold. Our hero tries to shake him awake, reminding him of his duty to settle disputes between bickering old ladies, but all the officer mumbles about is needing more beer. Seeing no other option, our hero signals the waiter not to bring any more drinks. After paying the bill, he learns there's a 50% discount if the bill reaches 100 yuan. Without missing a beat, he decides to order a ton of fish for Lady Jiang. With a fond farewell to his hiccuping friend, he grabs his takeout and heads home. Though he's a bit let down for not getting any leads, he's not too worried. There's always tomorrow. Back home, he finds the girl fast asleep. For a moment, he simply stands there, admiring her peaceful face. Something stirs inside him. His heart and mind seem to short-circuit, as he struggles to understand his own feelings. Suddenly, she wakes up, slightly startled to see him. He quickly shows her the food he brought, and she softly says, "Thanks." But that's not enough for him. Smirking, he insists she say it properly. Blushing, she looks at him and says, "Thank you, young warrior," which makes him puff up with exaggerated pride, calling it a small and easy task. As he unpacks the food, she curiously asks if he drank too much. He denies it and hands her a yogurt pack, telling her to lick it before drinking. Leading by example, he rubs his tongue against the sweet and sour yogurt, and she follows suit, surprisingly enjoying it and diving right in. He chuckles, telling her to eat up before the food gets cold. Then, he heads to the bathroom for a bath. He can't help but smile. There's a strange comfort in coming home to someone waiting for him. Once he's back outside, her eyes instantly lock onto him. He casually asks if she checked her new clothes, which, at first, utterly confuses her. Then, it suddenly hits her. He's talking about the bra he bought specifically for her. Just thinking about it makes her cheeks burn a fiery red with embarrassment. Apparently, trying to figure it out using YouTube tutorials didn't go quite as smoothly as she'd hoped. Later, she heads to the bathroom, ready to change, staring nervously at the fancy dress he picked out for her. She's used to simple, plain outfits that always match her mood. Now she just wonders what kind of prickly, demanding princess she'll look like in this new one. She lays out the bra and dress neatly on the bed, then steps into the bathroom for a refreshing bath. Afterward, she dries her hair with a blow-dryer, feeling truly grateful for the kind, young man who's been helping her adjust to everything. However, she knows deep down that relying on him isn't a long-term solution. With her extremely limited knowledge, there's only so much she can do on her own. The next morning, sunlight streams through the window. As she steps out of her room, rubbing her tired, sleep-deprived eyes, it looks like the boy woke up early this time. Lady Jiang, still groggy, asks if he's working so early in the morning. The boy, eyes fixed on the screen, casually replies that he's just catching up on the news. A gloomy aura immediately surrounds the girl. As she hesitantly asks if he's a government official, the boy chuckles, reminding her that if he were, she would have already received that ID card. She's wanted so badly. Switching topics, he asks if she's hungry and offers to buy breakfast, suggesting she come along, but the girl simply declines and heads to the bathroom. Instead, with a shrug, the boy decides to go alone, telling her she can Netflix and chill. While he's gone, humming a tune, he strolls outside, only to be stopped in his tracks by the old security guard, who reluctantly called him over. He slowly made his way toward the small group, all gathered by the entrance. 2 more individuals were already standing there, and one of the women wasted absolutely no time asking him directly if he'd heard any strange noises recently. From the way she eyed him with deep suspicion, it was clear she suspected he might be the culprit. Confused, the boy simply frowned and told them he hadn't heard a single thing. He'd slept soundly through the entire night. He wondered aloud if perhaps there'd been a theft, but the old guard slowly shook his head, his expression incredibly serious. Instead, he suggested something far, far stranger. Apparently, they might actually be haunted. His dog had been so utterly terrified. The other night, it didn't even bark. Curious, the boy then asked if the old guard had noticed anything else strange. Taking a deep, long puff of his cigarette, the old man exhaled slowly before admitting that, while he hadn't seen anything with his own eyes, he had caught something times on the surveillance footage. With a rapidly growing sense of unease, they all gathered together in the surveillance room. The old man then played the footage, and as they watched intently, something suddenly darted across the screen so fast that it appeared only as a terrifying blurry streak. A sudden wave of fear washed over everyone. their faces tense and etched with shock. But the boy felt a completely different kind of dread. Facepalming, he could only sigh in sheer frustration, because he was almost completely certain that the blurry figure was none other than Lady Jiang herself. Without wasting another precious second, he quickly turned and hurried back to his apartment. Suddenly, it all made perfect sense. No wonder Lady Jiang had looked so utterly exhausted. Earlier, she had clearly been sneaking out at night, trying to explore the big wide world on her own, and learning new things in her very own unique way. The boy then curiously asked the old guard if the exact same thing had happened the previous night, as well. But the guard simply shook his head, saying nothing unusual had occurred then. He then let out a slightly awkward laugh, and half-jokingly toyed with the notion that a ghost might be lurking nearby. Upon hearing this, the bald man and the plump woman instantly perked up, baffled as to why a specter would be wandering in the dead of night, especially right here. The old man, however, decided it was prudent to remain vigilant. Someone could be lurking in the shadows, biding their time to snatch valuables.